It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome into another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders. Alan, how we doing?
Weird, because like yesterday felt like a Friday, so now it feels like I'm working on a Saturday. You know, that's kind of where we're at here.
So what does that make today? Okay.
Yeah, and then nothing happened all day until literally 5 minutes before we went on this podcast. Like nothing. Happened. Maybe one of the slowest NFL news days all year, and just nothing going on.
And then one of the biggest blockbusters in recent history taking place via trade. I was wondering if you were going to work a joke there and say that you were doing better than Dallas Cowboys fans are this afternoon.
I mean, I don't feel bad for Dallas Cowboys fans, but like it's interesting because like they've never been like realistic about where their team is, and like you could honestly make an argument that this is probably more representative of where their team ought to be than like the way they actually usually do business, but just hilarious to be trading your best player on August 28th.
Years old. Yeah. I mean, okay. So Micah Parsons traded to the Green Bay Packers, 2 first-round picks, and Kenny Clark going back to the Dallas Cowboys from the Packers. I mean, this is a massive deal. No other way to say it. Micah Parsons, 26 years old, one of the best defensive players in the league, certainly on a Hall of Fame track right now. And to trade a player in his prime like this, it just doesn't happen. And you look at the way that Jerry Jones has done business. This always felt a little bit different to me, but he always has this way of like at the last hour striking a deal, even if it means paying more. He's always done it. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott. It is always just the business at the end of the day ended up taking place one way or another. It didn't this time. Micah Parsons going to the Green Bay Packers. No communication with David Mulugeta, with Micah Parsons' representation, just refusing to do business with him seemingly. And stubbornness is, I think, why we're sitting here right now talking about this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, big Cowboys news today. Ryan Flournoy on waivers.
Yeah, that's the Cowboys news everybody was waiting for.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a receiver.
That's a receiver. Right? I kind of like Flournoy coming out of SEMO, southeastern Missouri. Talked to him at the Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever. He's not a significant upgrade over what the Steelers have, but
if they were looking for, if Ben Skoranek wasn't on the roster, you were looking for like a little bit of a taller receiver that could also definitely be like a special teams demon. I think maybe that could be a direction to go, but with what we're looking for, I'm not sure he fits the bill. So yeah, that's not the Cowboys news that I'm interested in discussing. But I don't know. This is just taking me aback. Even though I said it felt different, I figured again, I don't know, 48 hours, 24 hours before a deal would be done. There's a small piece of me just because of you hear the way that Jerry Jones talks about the business and how he loves the soap opera feel that his organization brings to it. I was like, is this all, in my wrestling mind, obviously, I was like, is this a work? And Micah and Mulugeta are also in on it. And they're just trying to drum up interest. A second doc has been signed off on, and this is how it's going to start out. And but no, Micah Parsons is now going to be a Green Bay Packer. And somewhat, I mean, we could talk about the TJ angle of this. It's also now he's on a roster for a team that the Steelers play this year in Week 8 on Sunday Night Football. We're wearing those throwback uniforms. So there are some Steelers narratives that could be talked about within this Micah Parsons deal for sure.
Sure. I mean, the TJ Watt contract, I think, comes to mind originally. You kind of had a really good idea that if a Parsons deal or if an Aiden Hutchinson deal got done this offseason, that was going to come in ahead of TJ's number. I don't think it was ever about being the highest paid defensive player. I think it was mostly about getting more money than Myles Garrett, who is a comparable peer. I mean, Micah Parsons is 26 years old. He ought to get more money than TJ Watt. I don't think that was ever part of the conversation. I think it was always just getting more than Garrett. He did that, $1 million a year more. And, I kind of always thought that if Parsons or Hutchinson got a new deal this offseason that would come in the like 44 to 45 million. We'll see what how these contract numbers, it seems like the number that actually that gets reported first always feels like that's ridiculously inflated towards the agent, but we'll see. $136 million guaranteed is definitely a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about clearing TJ's deal, which TJ was the highest paid on an APY basis by $6 million per year. I mean, from 41 to 47 now, the new market that is set there by Micah Parsons. We know how Mulageta is. I had a feeling for sure, especially the age that he was going to clear, assuming that he was going to be the last one signed here. But yeah, I mean, all those factors certainly come into play for me, just the way that I'm looking at it. I mean, I don't know. Like, this is still just so raw to me. Like, it's just wild that we're even talking about him being traded. I mean, what do you make of the return, I guess, too? For, like, there was no deal that I think could have been made where people are like, oh, Dallas won this deal. Like, I don't know what it would have had to have taken for people to be like, oh, Dallas won this deal. But they did 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark back. So not even, like, Kenny Clark, good defensive player for sure along that front. But they don't even get an edge rusher back. So, like, it kind of makes me go, like, how are you even – I know they've been going through training camp and stuff without Micah, but I would have thought like they still plan to have him. It just kind of shifts their plans for me defensively. Like, who's even the edge rushers and like how do you even build this defense now without him there?
You don't. The Cowboys just if you had the Cowboys in your postseason prediction, take them off right now. They will not be able to recover from this trade. There's not this year, and honestly, not in the future. There is no amount of compensation that could properly reward you for a player like Micah Parsons. You get the first overall pick in 4 consecutive drafts, and you would be more likely than not to still lose in value for a player like Micah Parsons. Just can't possibly add up. And the Packers won't be bad. I mean, those 2 picks are going to be in the late 20s, probably. I mean, right now, I think you got to call the Packers the second best team in the NFC at the very worst. I mean,
and imagine like Jordan Love, I think is super talented. I don't think that we've like seen it yet. Maybe it would have happened last year if he didn't get injured in the first game of the week. But like that to me is the one big question. Like that is going to determine for me, are they a team that's like a divisional contender or are they a Super Bowl contender? Is going to depend on what Jordan Love looks like this year. But I think all the pieces are certainly there in play now. And yeah, imagine if they do win it all. You're talking about the 32nd pick for Micah Parsons, and I know you have the one the following year, but wouldn't expect it to be much of a different factor there. I mean, and think about this too, Alan. Like I know you obviously know that that was the team that they lost to in the playoffs. I don't know if you watched that documentary, but like how highlighted that loss was. Jerry Jones said it was the worst loss in franchise history to the Green Bay Packers. Where did he just trade Micah Parsons to?
Trade them within the conference. You're going to have to see them. They got to play. I think they play in week 4, but like, I mean, the Cowboys were already uphill climb in the NFC, and now you just helped somebody who was already ahead of you get even farther ahead of you.
My mind also goes to, I know that you mentioned this to me before we started recording, but like, okay, so if Parsons isn't part of the picture, should they start thinking about, moving some assets that they currently have? Like if you are going to have multiple first-round picks like this, Dak Prescott just got a new deal last year, but certainly not getting any younger, depending on what the team is like. And not only from like the team perspective, what's the reaction of like the good players on that team to Micah Parsons no longer being there? I can't imagine that they're very happy about this. They probably thought all along Jerry's going to be Jerry and the deal will get done in the end. Now it doesn't, and he's on the Green Bay Packers. I'm not going to try to predict what their response is going to be, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's a lot of unhappy people that are like the superstar players on that roster right now about this. And I just wonder how the fallout is going to be if, like you're saying, they aren't very good this year and they're picking somewhat high and then have an additional first-round pick. Is there another Steelers angle here that we're not talking about? Is a quarterback going to be in the market?
Yeah, no, I think a quarterback. Yeah, absolutely. They'll be like, the only way Jerry can possibly save face from this is to tear this whole thing to the studs. And I'm not going to try to predict what he's going to do because it doesn't seem like, honestly, the best interests of the Dallas Cowboys are what's in mind when things are happening. But like the only way to make this work to possibly make this work positively for the Cowboys is to tear the whole roster down to the studs and start over. And that includes that means trading Dak Prescott this offseason. I don't think that's necessarily like I think that calculation, like did you think the Cowboys were going to win a Super Bowl this year? Did you think the Cowboys would win a Super Bowl in the next 4 years if they signed Micah Parsons to a contract extension? Like, probably not. Like, I didn't really think they were that close. So, in some ways, I think the idea of looking at where this Cowboys roster is, where they are in comparison to their competition and saying, you know what, let's rebuild. I don't think that's crazy. And I think now that he's taken one step down that road, the only way to make any of this make any sense is just go all in on that path. Now, I used all in. There you
go. Well, let me just say something that comes to mind for me too. And again, this is not me saying that the Cowboys should have done this, but just kind of going along with the thought process that you just brought up in there. In their division, they're with the two teams that played in the NFC Championship last year.
Yeah. I mean, they're only saved by the Giants' significant incompetence from being the worst team in the division.
Mm-hmm. So, like, I could understand, like you're saying, if that is the mindset, I mean, that's a hard sell to me as if I was a Cowboys fan to get rid of that player, especially be the one like to kickstart it all, right? Like go back a year and not pay Dak Prescott the contract if you're going to do that. And why do you make the trade for George Pickens this offseason if this is the plan as well? I mean, there's just a lot of things that really don't make sense if with hindsight, if this was ultimately going to be what they got to. But that's the thing. Like, I really don't think this isn't what they wanted to do. And I just think that Jerry Jones being Jerry Jones and still trying to operate a way that, and for the first time, somebody like really pushing back on it, landed us in an unprecedented situation.
Yeah. And I guess the one other part of this that does look a little interesting from the Steelers' perspective, it now makes it almost unfathomable that they're going to pay Romeo Doubs, who has a contract coming up.
Look at this. We can keep finding ways to make it related to the Steelers. Yeah.
Now, but
and also the Packers need to get more draft capital.
But they're not going to trade him this year. Like, they will pay him, but like, I don't know, how do they trade him?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, could somebody be, I know that we keep going when we talk about receivers, we end up kicking the can down the road and saying at the trade deadline, but like, when Christian Watson gets back into the fold and comes back, depending on how he looks or something like that, could there then be a receiver just out of surplus, like even if they're good, which we expect them to be good, that's available? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But these things will always figure themselves out. I like everybody that's watching and listening to this still, I'm sure is left scratching their heads a bit here at this trade taking place. Hey, and by the way, I know that people will say what they want to say. Clearly, the dog is tapped in some capacity. Ricky knows something. It's somebody.
Yeah, there you go.
It's somebody. I don't know who he is. I don't know where these connections come from. It's got to be somebody that was like, I don't know, shadow banned from covering the league or something like that, but has sources and they can't put their real name out there, so they got this alias online. But let us know your thoughts about the deal taking place and all angles that we covered it, trying to relate it back to the Steelers, because there's certainly some ways to do so. Alan, we got $5 here from Desert Cactus, so anytime that we get that, we certainly got to work that into a show. And we appreciate Desert Cactus. Always has been a very loyal and generous member of the audience here. Everyone's doing their predictions now, and unsurprisingly, almost all fan base is very optimistic headed into the season. Realize that everyone spends the entirety of time elaborating and diving into how each team got better, and you realize no one ever talks about how or why any team got worse, and that's just as important question. So how and why do teams get worse in practice? How much of those factors impacted the Steelers this offseason? Well, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you trade Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I think teams get worse. I think teams usually get worse in free agency. You spend money in a poor way. I think that's probably the biggest area. I think teams get worse with bad coaching hires. I think teams get worse when they don't manage contracts well and they can't keep players they want to keep. It's it's the NFL too. Like, I think we have to understand that, like, a lot of what makes a team good is just luck. Like, it's just like who you played in what order and when. Injuries are such a big part of it. Like, we see so many teams, like, will take a big step forward, then take a small step back. Like, that's such a trope that I think, like, if that's all the analysis you're using to suggest that, like, Washington or Denver isn't going to be as good as they were last year, which, by the way, I agree with both of those takes. Like, it's almost like it's almost like parody, right? Like that, that's like, yeah, of course they are. It's because so much of what goes into those big jumps forward is just good fortune that you can't replicate. And so I don't know that there's like a lot of really readable signs and symptoms outside of what Dallas is doing to, like, here's what makes the team get worse.
Yeah, I know we talked about, like, Miami's offseason kind of sticking out like a sore thumb.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, but I was, like, going through when I saw this question, just, like, through the league and, like, trying to figure out, because I think there's one thing to be bad, but it's, like, worse to be directionless.
Yes.
And like, I think that there's some teams to me where I'm trying to figure out, like, I understand in the case of Indy what they're trying to do, like Steichen and Ballard are trying to save their jobs, but I don't think it's going to go very well.
No, but I don't think they'll be any worse. They weren't good last year.
Right. Yeah. In the same, like, the Giants were not good, and I'm not sure what that's going to look like this year. I think the defense is actually pretty good, but yeah, still major questions. Andrew Thomas, it doesn't sound like he's going to be ready early in the season. So I don't know. Yeah, there's not like a bunch that stick out to me, but like it's funny that this question came in before the Dallas thing, because that was like a great example of literally right before the season, just like completely changing your direction. And by the way, I refreshed Twitter while we were recording here. Another Steelers angle on this. The Steelers own, I mentioned the Pickens thing. Well, the Steelers own Dallas's third round pick. Might be a much better third round pick now because of how Dallas's season goes.
Yeah, there you go.
So another thing to keep in mind there as well. But appreciate the 5 there, Desert Cactus. This from Neo Video Retro. Hey, Alan, are there loopholes or anything in the IR no practice rule? Like, if Will Howard is fully healthy but on injured reserve, is there any way for him to throw and continue his development before he's officially allowed to practice with the team?
He can throw. He can't practice. So two different things. You know, when we're at practice, they will have 2 fields full of guys practicing. You know, usually it's offense on one field and defense on the other field during, like, Indy and Skelly and things like that. Sometimes you'll have, like, special teams on the field while 7-on-7 is happening on the other side, or like O-line, D-line on one field while 7-on-7 is happening on the other time, something like that. And then you'll have guys that are on the injured reserve will be working out on a third field, or if Pitt's practicing at the same time, or they're indoors, it'll be off to the side on a sideline somewhere. Those guys can do anything that is physically part of their rehab or getting ready to play. So, like, let's say you have Will Howard, right, with a pinky injury. You know, all of the things that he would be doing in practice, like footwork drills and running a ladder and anything like that, he will still be doing. And then as his hand heals, he will build up the strength in his hand and start throwing program and that kind of thing. He can do all that off to the side. He can't have anybody else working with him in a football drill. Like, he can't even throw a pass to a receiver. But he can work on his own physical tools during practice time as much as he wants. He can also still be in every meeting. He can be on the sideline for games. And so he can be a part of the mental preparation, but not the physical preparation.
Gotcha. Okay, good stuff. Also, another little piece of breaking news here. Alan, I refreshed Twitter again, saw that you tweeted out Steelers got a 17th practice squad member here, Aiden Williams, offensive lineman, joining again. That's somebody that they had throughout the summer and clearly liked. Just real quick, what did you see from Aiden that is maybe the reason Steelers wanted to bring him back into the fold?
Super athlete, sort of unrefined at the guard position. Another guy with a lot of upside. I don't know what he's going to turn into. A guy they signed out of Division II Minnesota Duluth. He came into college as a tight end out of Anchorage, Alaska. The one and only. We've talked about Dylan Cook's career path being one of one. I'm sure tight end from Anchorage, Alaska, who goes to Division II Minnesota Duluth, moves to tackle, then to guard in the NFL. That's a one of one also. Just think that there's some untapped potential there. Didn't play a lot of guard in college, but a really good athlete. You would, kind of understand of a guy who played tight end, even at Division II level, is a pretty good athlete. You put on some weight and you see what that does to the frame. He's a little bit shorter than a guy like Dylan Cook, which is why I think the move to guard is the move instead of tackle. But I think he's an interesting guy and someone they want to keep around. Had a knee injury that kept him out of the final. I think it was the final 2 preseason games they either hurt against the Jaguars. So was someone that I think they were interested in keeping around. I wasn't sure if that injury was going to cost him a chance. It seems like it didn't.
Also, I appreciate the hairstyle that he's rocking right now. Probably, me personally, would have had him back just because of that. But you answered my question in terms of, is he strictly a guard or does he have some versatility there? You think he's just a guard then?
Yeah, I think he's just a guard.
Dave, I know that you mentioned, I did have the opportunity to watch today's Morning Rush, by the way. I know you mentioned potentially hitting the links. Did you get out on the course?
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
Okay, well, Dave asked a question about it, so
yeah, okay. I guess. All right, for Dave.
Yeah, he said thanks, Alan. Nice to see the practice squad salary has gone up for these guys. Are you as good at golf as Jerry Dulac? Jerry must be really good, as the score he claimed on Eisen's show would have been competitive with PGA Tour pros on the course. Should we call him Tiger Dulac, Carl Speckler, or just smile and nod like Rich did?
Jerry is nice like that.
Okay,
I believe that score. If you want a comparison for Ty Webb from Caddyshack, that's my Jerry comp. No, I think I used to be a lot better golfer than I was before I had this job. Now I'm awful.
It's
a lot less tee time, I'm guessing. I need to get to the point in my career where Jerry is, where he can come to practice like once or twice a week and hit the links a whole bunch. This was literally the first time I played this year. Not good. It was not good at all. The putting was we just the whole short game actually.
Okay, we'll work on the short game. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. The whole short game was in shambles. I did. I'll say this. I'll talk up one thing I did. This was good. I was late for my tee time. So I'm like scrambling to get up there. Rest of the group's already teed off. Everybody's standing around waiting for me. Come flying up in the cart, put it in park, grab the driver, grab the tee, grab a ball. No, I don't warm up. I don't stretch. I just stuck the tee in the ground, square in my stance, swung, and just like absolutely striped like a 310 yarder straight down the middle. It's probably the best shot I hit all day. It was probably the only good shot I hit all day. But I was like, yeah, that was kind of fun. That was cool.
You just have to always act. Maybe that's it. Maybe just like always act like you're in a rush.
Yeah,
maybe go with the Happy Gilmore style or something. It's kind of what I was picturing, to be honest with you moving that fast. Get to this one from Tesnas as well here. Fully understand not wanting to move off a high draft pick for another receiver. I agree with it. With that in mind, do you think it would make some sense to use Calvin Austin as a piece going back the other way for, say, a Jacoby Myers? No idea if Vegas would do it, have any interest in trading Myers or any interest in Austin, but do you think that it makes sense from a Steelers POV?
No, it doesn't. I don't think Vegas wants to trade Jacoby Myers. John Spytek talked very forcefully yesterday that the signing of Amari Cooper was simply a coincidence, that that's something they'd been working on for a while, and that they are not interested in trading Jacoby Myers. Take him as a word, which general managers, your mileage may vary on that, but it doesn't have no good to trade him. Their wide receivers stink. Like that. Like I understand why they would not want to. Maybe at the deadline, but I don't think they're going to budge. Now, would trading Calvin Austin back make it better? Maybe. But why would that be then the move for the Steelers? Like the Steelers don't. I think they like Calvin Austin. I think they want to keep Calvin Austin. Also, the Raiders already have Trey Tucker. I don't think those two players are different enough that like Calvin really moves the needle. If you're going to trade a wide receiver, it should probably be Roman Wilson. And I don't really think the Steelers are ready to give up on him.
I was just saying, who carries more value to you? A Calvin Austin, who we know is pretty limited, but had a pretty nice season last year, and you at least feel comfortable about what he is, or Roman Wilson, just because like he's more of an unknown. Like, what do you think carries more weight? And I guess the contract would probably come into play as well, but just in general, like, which player do you think would be coveted more in a trade?
Yeah, I mean, 3 more years of Roman Wilson against 1 more year of Calvin Austin. I think the contract drives that. But I think Roman Wilson in general is the more interesting long-term player, but I think Calvin Austin is better right now. So I would probably say, even if the contracts were closer, probably would still think Roman would have more value. I mean, you could probably get that trade done. I just don't think that helps the Steelers that much.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know that this is where, like, we can talk about it for fun, but like I don't see a world where the Raiders are trading Jacoby Myers. I'll be honest with you, though. The 3 big names that were talked about all offseason in terms of, are they going to be traded or extended? Terry McLaurin, Trey Hendrickson, Micah Parsons. I would have said Trey Hendrickson was the most likely to be dealt. Micah Parsons was the least likely. This is where we got. So,
yeah.
Just saying, that's kind of my feel
maybe
on it.
The Steelers can pry Jalen Tolbert out of the Cowboys.
Ooh, okay. That's a name that was mentioned to me recently, but I hadn't thought a whole lot about. Actually, that's funny because there's a question here. Do we think, is there any name at receiver that we haven't hammered into the ground that comes to mind that we haven't talked about a ton yet? I think Jalen.
I actually think the Steelers should have asked for Jalen Tolbert back in the Pickens trade. I would have rather had him than and given, what do they give, a 6th in 2027? Is that what they traded back?
Ooh, I'd have to look at it again.
Yeah, I think it was a 6th in 2027. I would have much rather made that like a 4th and traded Jalen Tolbert and gotten Jalen Tolbert. I think he'd be a really good fit for the Steelers. I don't know. Is Dallas
2026 3rd and a 2027 5th, and the Steelers sent a 2027 6th.
Yeah,
as well.
So so just cancel out that 2027 5th, honestly, and get and maybe make it a 5th instead of a 6th. Go into Dallas and get Jalen Tolbert in here. I could get down with that. I think he'd be a really good fit for the Steelers. Again, going to be really hard to predict what Jerry's going to do, but that doesn't seem crazy to me.
No, I liked him a lot coming out of South Alabama. It was cool to see him at the Senior Bowl playing.
Yeah.
In his home.
You should have seen the media scrum around Jalen Tolbert at the Senior Bowl. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, sticking on that then, because the question also said, and like, what do they bring to the table? What do you think would be attractive, specifically with Tolbert? Like, what he brings to the table? Why would he be a fit?
He's a bigger bodied guy. He's about 6'1". He's really athletic. He has like an RAS in the 8s, I want to say. Ran like a sub 4.5 40. So you get the deep speed with a little bit of size that you don't necessarily have with Calvin and Roman. And I think he's not what I would call like a great route runner. But I think he has like some nice traits in terms of his like willingness to be tough and physical and that kind of thing that make him a good fit for the Steelers.
And last thing here, not sure if you guys are fantasy football players, but if you are, who is your number one overall pick this year? Who is your number? So I don't know if this means who should go number one or like on our rosters. Who was our
Smitty? Have we talked about my fantasy football in the past? I feel like nobody cares about my fantasy football team. Like I don't really want, but I do. I have one league where it's like you draft them when they're in college and you keep them forever. Like a full,
like a super dynasty.
Yes. So like you can even draft high school guys. So like in that draft, I'm pretty sure Fernando Mendoza was my first round pick. And I did I want to say another quarterback, but I couldn't tell you offhand. I had Carson Beck already. Yeah. So like then I am in a sort of like more traditional keeper dynasty league where you keep 6 guys. That draft hasn't happened yet. I don't know who might first. I think Derrick Henry is going to be available in that draft. I think Derrick Henry is an underrated player in the first half of drafts, especially in redraft leagues right now that are not PPR or half PPR. I'd be taking Derrick Henry really high. Obviously, I think Saquon to me probably feels like the like generic answer. And then I'm also in a college football fantasy league with a bunch of Steelers reporters, and we had our draft last night, and I had the second overall pick, and I got Jeremiah Smith because someone took Des Reed from Pitt first overall. So
oh my,
there
goodness.
you go.
Well, that's like one of my leagues. Like my friend's wife is in it, and she does not care at all. Like last year, she picked players completely based off like if their names had anything to do with like a horror movie. Like it's just ridiculous the way some of these people draft.
Well, and then my daughter filling out her March Madness bracket.
Yeah,
because she likes the dogs and like lucking into UConn winning.
Yeah. So like I had and then the person that won or that had the first pick won a different league last year and had CeeDee Lamb on their roster, so they took CeeDee Lamb first overall. So it was like I had 6 and I got Jahmyr Gibbs, but like Jamar Chase went at 5, and I was like I missed him by 1 pick. And like that's in a full point PPR, that to me would be the guy at 1. The running back thing is interesting though. Like I think it is Saquon, but like Bijan certainly has his.
I don't know if I'm a Bijan believer. I think that's like if you look at like RotoWire and a lot of the the draft charts, like a lot of people in PPR leagues have him as number 1. I don't think I believe in Penix enough to think that offense
just lost their right tackle.
That offense is going to be good enough that a running back in that offense is going to be that elite fantasy wise. Like running backs got to score touchdowns to be fantasy elite, and that feels like a field goal offense to me.
Real quick though, I do want to mention my one team, my one dynasty team. I have the Burrow and Jamar Chase stack. Ridiculous. I won the championship last year by like 50
I have
points.
Burrow in my keeper league, and I will be keeping him. Obviously. But hey, if you like fantasy football stuff, we are getting a show that is going
beautiful. That wasn't even like intentional, but
I know, man. But how about that segue? We are going to be debuting actually a week from tonight on this channel, a new show that will have some, in addition to some other kind of gambling content, some fantasy football stuff, featuring the dear Julie Pelusi. We don't have a name for it yet. We're working on it, but I think next Thursday is the plan. And we're also going to be doing some stuff on Wednesday nights too. So we're expanding the menu, and it's going to be Smitty and I and DB. I think will be involved in those shows, but they're primarily going to have different hosts that then we will rotate in the rest of us. So it'll be some of the people you're familiar with from the channel, and then some different people kind of working in tandem. And I just think there's always an appetite for more. There's always stuff that we aren't doing, and those that seemed like one of them. So glad we got a fantasy question here. You're going to be getting more fantasy football content in your Steelers Now notifications coming up soon.
There we go. Love it. Certainly looking forward to be a small part of it, but Also, we do the afternoon drive. It's nice to hand somebody else the keys and let them go for a spin every once in a while. So
Yeah.
Stay tuned on the YouTube channel and your audio platforms because there's more stuff coming your way. But Alan, until tomorrow, tell the people they can find you.
Oh man, we're at a half an hour already. Holy heck.
35, actually.
It goes so fast sometimes. Saunders _PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now is the site SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the word so I can get paid. Let's sign up for SN Plus, and you get words with no ads, which is way better. You also get all the best content from EDB, the rest of the Steelers Now team, and a lifelong loving devotion from all of us and our live stream.
Jerry Jones said the same thing. So
yeah,
I don't know if I believe it.
Yeah, I have a better track record than Jerry at this point. So we got some new ones there at the top, and we got a new one here. I need you to put in Hamilton Thompson.
Hamilton
Thompson. There you go.
Okay.
Put him in. All
right, Hamilton.
Shout out.
Do we know where Hamilton is from?
From Huntington, Pennsylvania. That is in the central part of the state.
I mean, we appreciate it, but I was hoping for another.
Yeah, you're looking for Mozambique or something. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm international hunting more than anything else, but also just different. Give me a Dakota, one of the Dakotas out there, or something like that. Which, by the way, if you're watching or listening and living in
we do have at least one North Dakota listener.
Okay, all right. Well, we appreciate that, regardless of where you're watching or listening. But it's a running joke at this point. I want one from each state. But anyways, YouTube count, by the way, 16,500, and we might have to give up on doing this because we're getting too repetitive now. We're at 76. I think I did Chris Hoke last time. It's obviously Troy Fautanu right now. Chooks was 76. Mike Adams was 76.
I used Kevin Henry. I'm pretty sure the last time we did this. And I know I've talked on here about Big Daddy Lipscomb before.
Yeah. This is one that we've landed on 3-4 times. It's
John Banaszak was 76 in the late 70s. I don't think he was there for all 4 Super Bowls, but maybe 2 or 3 of the 70s Super Bowl champions. Was a defensive lineman, and then later became a coach and was the head coach at Robert Morris for a while when I worked at Beaver County Times. So I got to know John a little bit. Good guy.
There we go. Well, add to that growing number, subscribe, hit that notification bell. The growth over the last month, I know we keep saying it, but it's just been insane, and we appreciate it. Closer to 17,000 now than 16,000, and it feels like we just hit 16,000 not that long ago. So be sure to continue to support us there. Also, if you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, be sure there's a 5-star review and subscribe over there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing over on TikTok, and then you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH. For Alan Saunders and myself, thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.